everyone. Hope you're doing well. I am back with story number 15 of my December daily for 2024. I am working in this old modified cookbook. It's a cookie cookbook, as you can see from the right-hand photo or picture from the book page. And I am working on this encyclopedia page today, doing a picture of my daughter. She got her ear pierced. It was a conch. I can't remember, C-O-N-C-H, however you pronounce that. We got that piercing done. She had used to have a helix, and it just got really angry with her, and she ended up having to take it out after over a year of having it. And we thought we would pierce a different part of her ear to see if that heals and stays a little better. And actually, so far, it's been so much better than the helix. I think because it's like in the inside of her ear more, it doesn't impact her when she's like sleeping and stuff. It's not kind of like on the edge of the ear where the helix goes. So this has been really good so far. So what I'm doing is I have 3 pictures. I have the bigger picture of her at the actual piercing studio, and then I have 2 other pictures, one of her getting the piercing and one of her after the piercing. I end up cutting down that picture of her getting the piercing down to a square, so it is the same size as the picture of her ear where you can see the piercing. And because it just fits on the page better. So I pulled out these 3 or 4 different printables, trying to figure out which one I like the best. And I end up ultimately picking this one with the flowers on it. I actually asked my daughter which one she liked best, and she thought this one was the best. And I kind of like this one the best too. So it worked out perfect. I'm just taking the paper here and measuring the size, and I will again work out of the book just because it is getting super chunky and it's hard to work in. So I'm pulling that page over to off of the book and working on it separately, and then I'll glue the page in at the very end. So just going there and making sure everything's going to fit nicely, and then I'm going to take my pencil and roughly measure so I know how big to make this particular piece of paper when I cut it. Just using my paper trimmer. I'm so bummed actually. My paper trimmer, there's like that silver bar there. There's a plastic piece that goes on there to hold that bar in place, and my trimmer dropped the other day, and that little plastic piece like literally disappeared. I have absolutely no idea where it went. I searched all over my floor. It's not a very big space, so I have no clue where it went. I don't think I sucked up with a vacuum cleaner because I literally looked for it as soon as it fell, and I just can't find it. So I end up taping it, and it's not working super well, but it's getting me by. They do have a full lifetime warranty, but because I don't have a receipt, I have to send the whole entire cutter in. And I don't know if it's worth it. I think a new cutter is around $20, $25, but I haven't seen this particular cutter with the bar, and I like it the best compared to some of the other Fiskars cutters. So anyway, if you have any suggestions on really, really nice cutters that cut very nice and straight and cut well, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your suggestions. As you can see there, I was tearing with my tear ruler. I just wanted a little bitty edge on here. I didn't realize I wanted this kind of deckled edge until after I cut the paper down. And because I was trying to pull off such little bitty pieces, it was not very or working very well. And I totally forgot I had this Tim Holtz deckled edge trimmer. I love this thing. It is so cool. It was not very expensive. I think I got it on a really, really good sale from like maybe on the Tonic website maybe a year or so ago, and it was awesome. I was so excited because they were pretty pricey for what it is, and it works super well. I was a little bit worried about how it was going to cut since it doesn't have a straight edge, it's like a deckled edge, but it actually cuts really well. I'm pretty impressed at the cardstock that I have cut down, so I would definitely recommend that. And I did get the smaller one. I think there's a bigger one if I'm not mistaken, and I got the smaller one. It just for what I want to use it for, I didn't need something so big and I didn't want to pay that price. So here's where I said I was going to be cutting down that one photo. I'm just cutting it down to the same size square as the other photo, and I will mount it on some white paper just to give it the border so it looks like the other one because I'm cutting that border off. And I didn't want to keep the 2 sides of the border because that's like photo paper, and I thought that would look kind of funny where it's photo paper on 2 sides and then plain paper on the other. So I just trimmed it all the way around, and then I'll just mount it so I have a border around the entire thing. Trim that out with my little trimmer. This is just my Creative Memories trimmer. I absolutely love this little guillotine trimmer. It's super cute. It cuts very nicely. I don't believe they make these anymore, but if you ever find them like on eBay or something like that, I definitely think you should grab them or at a garage sale. Love that trimmer. So now I am going to distress around the edges because I put that deckled edge. I want it to show up a bit more, and by putting the distress ink on, it really kind of helps make that pop or the edge kind of show up a bit better than it would if I didn't do the inking. So I do ink around this, and I think the ink looks really nice with that kind of brown in the center of those flowers. That paper also is from Rach and Bella. It's a printable from their Etsy shop. So if you are interested, you can definitely head over there and get this paper. I think it's like the Nostalgique or Nostalgia or something like that paper collection. And it also, I think it's I can't remember if it's just papers and then like there's an embellishment set that's separate. I can't quite remember that, but it definitely is super cute. Definitely recommend their shop. They have some really cute printables in their Etsy shop. Now I'm just gluing everything down where I like it. Just kind of making these a little bit at a jaunty angle just to make it a little more interesting to look at. And then I thought the photo in the background was just, I don't know, I felt like it needed something extra. So I'm pulling out this Martha Stewart punch that does like a corner, those old-fashioned corners. And I got this actually at an estate sale a couple weeks ago, and it is perfect. It's a little bit rough when you're trying to punch out of like the thicker paper. It doesn't punch super nice, so you kind of have to punch it out yourself. But I think for what it is and the fact that it does the kind of lines where you can fold it nicely, it works for me. So, and plus, I think I paid like, I don't know, 50 cents for or something like that. So perfect. So I'm just inking around the edges. The reason I'm inking around this time is because the core of this particular cardstock is white, and because the punch isn't like a super clean punch, you could see some white, and I didn't like that. So I definitely wanted to do some inking around it just to make sure it kind of blended in a bit better. And I'm using my bone folder here just to make sure everything sits very nicely so that when I glue it down, it kind of lays really flat. I could use my fingernail, but the bone folder works really nicely for this. So just squishing all those down to make sure they have a nice crease on them. And then I will add a little bit of liquid glue to glue each of them down. And I only punch 3 because you can't see the fourth corner of that photo, so there's really no need to punch anymore. So I'm just trying them out, making sure that's going to look nice, and then using some liquid glue to adhere them down. And this is just art glitter glue if you're interested. Love this fine tip. It is my favorite glue. Do love it. I like the 3M glue too, but it's very goopy. It's really good for when you do not want your paper to wrinkle, or if you're going to be needing a lot of glue, or you're gluing fabric or some other material to the paper. I highly recommend the Beacon 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac, I think it's called as well. They're pretty much the same exact thing. But otherwise, I really like this white glue. It's dries super fast. I love the fine tip. You definitely could use something else, like when the bottle runs out, you could grab something other than the art glitter glue, but I really like the art glitter glue and it's worked really well for me. So I will definitely keep using that. So now that I got everything on, or at least almost on, this one was a little bit harder because I had to kind of pull up that one photo. I'm going to move on and do more of this layout. Oh, and because I just glue the inside of the corners and not the back side, I'm just putting a little dab to make sure the corners stick down to the actual page. Now I decided that it was looking a little bland and I wanted to add some borders on either side. So I'm just taking the scallop punch. This is probably my one favorite, or one of my favorite punches that I have in my stash. I absolutely love it. It's very simple. I seem to use it a lot, which I try to rotate my border punches, but this one just seems to work well with pretty much anything. So I wanted to punch out this green. I want to bring the green out in the paper. So I'm going to punch out 2 strips, and one's going to go on the right and one's going to go on the left of the floral paper. So I'll be doing that here, and I'll punch out a second one that I'll do off camera and then come back and I'll show you how I'm going to glue these on, which is just literally with some liquid glue and gluing the edges on. I just want a little bit to peek out. Again, I just think that kind of helps frame the paper here, and I really like the added texture and dimension that it gives. Once I glue that on to both sides, then I'm going to trim off the excess. I did it longer just because it was easier to do it longer and then trim it off than to try to do it the exact size. So I'm going to do that, glue them down, and then I'm going to glue this entire thing back into the book on that encyclopedia page. And you really don't see much of the encyclopedia page in this. Actually, the page that I did, story 14, that I didn't actually film, that one you actually see more of the encyclopedia page, but this one I didn't feel I needed to, which is fine. I think that's nice about junk journals. You can use a bunch of different kinds of papers and stuff to make the pages. And if your layout calls for it, you can keep what the original page was. But if it doesn't, you just cover it up or paint over it or whatever. You guys have seen me paint on things and different things like that. So definitely just do whatever you feel works the best. Now, I did not want to see that bottom piece of the encyclopedia page because I thought it was kind of distracting. So once I glued this, I'm going to take that ruffle is I don't know if it was fabric or if it was a ribbon. It might have been a ribbon that I ended up just taking on my sewing machine and making a ruffle out of. I absolutely love at making ruffles. I think they add a lot of texture and dimension to like the edges of the pages or just the layouts, or they're fun to make with for tabs. And so I just sewed this on my sewing machine just by just hand folded it basically to make that ruffle, and then sewed it on my sewing machine with a zigzag stitch. I think this is actually ribbon, maybe. I think I might have got it from like the dollar store or something, but it's been in my stash for quite some time. So I just snip off a piece that's going to fit, and then I'm just going to glue on the bottom. This is that Beacon 3-in-1 glue. This is really good for the fabric, and plus I am gluing onto the encyclopedia page, which is super thin paper. I did not want to use the white glue. I was worried it was going to kind of wrinkle and curl the paper a bit, so I thought this is the better bet. This is like an acetone-based glue, and it is archival safe, so that's something else that's really cool about it. It kind of reminds me of, oh, what is it called? Oh no, I can't think of it now. Basically, when you're a kid and you can rub it, rubber cement. That's what it reminds me of. It's like a rubber cement base. It's like that kind of thing. So you can like actually rub it off, and it rolls up in little balls if you add too much glue. So I'm just trimming this label in half. I was going to try to use both pieces of it. It just didn't work out. So I end up only using the one piece of the label. I believe I ink around the label, and then I'm going to pull some other things from my stash. I'm going to pull a little circle embellishment. I thought there's a lot of angles, and I wanted to have something more soft, so I always like to add circles when I feel like the layout is a bit too angular, I guess. So I am going to pull out a little round die cut piece, or not die cut, but a fussy cut piece. I'm going to ink that up a little bit and then just add that on. And I'm going to add it over there by that label right there. I'm also going to punch out the number 15 from a printable that I had in my stash from, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before that I used. So I'm going to print that out or punch that out. I'm going to use a Martha Stewart punch for that as well. It's got a little bit of scallop, which I think is so cute. And I believe I've shown that on other pages this year in this December daily. But it's the same one. And I do a little inking around it, and it looks really cute. I really like that punch. It's like a really dainty scallop edge. So here is that printable that I was talking about. I was lucky I had number 15, and so I'm just going to punch that out here with that punch. Ink around the edge, and then it's going to go in the bottom left-hand corner of the layout. Then I thought it still needed a little bit more, so I am going to pull out this envelope of things that I have embossed, stamped and embossed, and I've had these in my stash for quite some time as well. I just made a whole ton of them one time as like a prep for December Daily one year, and I still have some left. I think I've made like 2 batches of these over the several years that I've done December Daily, and I wanted to use some of these. I thought the vellum ones looked nice. I just wanted a touch more gold. I just felt like there needed more circles or softness around the page. So I pull out these 2 snowflakes, and then I actually pull out the word Merry and love, and I can't remember. I think I end up putting the Merry on there. There's 3 different words, Merry, love, and cheer. And I couldn't decide which one I wanted to use. Oh, I actually think I used cheer. I think Merry was just a little bit too long. So I end up gluing just one of these down there on that circle. And then you won't see it, but off camera, I do end up putting some journaling. What I ended up doing, this journaling was slightly more private. It was just something about my daughter that I didn't really want to share with everyone. So I didn't show it in any of the pictures or the video, but I ended up, because I didn't want to put it on this side of the layout anyway, I put it on the page to the right, and I just put it in the bottom right on some coffee dye paper, and I did it with my vintage typewriter, and I didn't really want to cover up that page anyway, so it was perfect. So I just added that little spot there, and that's where the journaling ended up going for this particular page. So that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to be a subscriber, and I will see you soon. I have day or story 16 coming up, hopefully in the next day or two. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.